Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and this is a fourplex I've owned for 5 years now, and we have a tenant who just moved out. We're going to see what it looks like inside, how rough or amazing it is. Now, we also had another tenant here who we thought we might have to evict, who has been doing much, much better. We'll talk about that as well. And then we've got another vacant unit here from a tenant who moved out a little bit less than a month ago or so after just moving in for 3 months. So this property has had a few issues lately, but for the most part, it has been one relatively smooth property and one I paid $192,000 for in 2019 and is probably worth over $500,000 today. Crazy. Anyway, the one tenant we had problems with had 3 cars back here, had just made a huge mess, was behind on rent, had dogs when it wasn't supposed to, and we told him he had to clean it up, catch up right away, or we're going to start the eviction process, and we're fearing the worst, but he got rid of 2 of those cars, just has 1 now like he's supposed to, cleaned up the rest, and has been catching up on rent every week. So really good to see. And here is a unit that just vacated, and you can kind of tell through many different factors how often rent is paid late, different things, what you might find in a tenant when it's vacated. And this is one of the most beautiful rentals we've had. I don't know if there was any dirt anywhere. And I know we show a lot of rough properties, a lot of crazy tenant stories, parking stories, all kinds of different stuff going on. But we also have about 70 different tenants through commercial, multifamily, and the handful of single family homes I own. So when you see those crazy tenant stories, it's not really representative of everything that's happening on all my properties. It's just kind of the few that are causing issues. So for the most part, our tenants are great. Most of our tenants have no issues. But we do have some tenants who have some issues, and those are ones that most people see and share and talk about as well. And if a tenant is doing good and paying rent, we're not going to go film their property and talk about that. We're going to leave them alone, let them do their thing, and focus on other things. Now, we do have a hair salon that rents from us in the basement unit here too, and they had said the one tenant had moved some of his cars to the front of the building on the street, which honestly, that's kind of a town thing. I don't control the street parking, but I did not see any of his cars up there, so not sure what is going on there. But anyway, looked okay, and hopefully things continue to go okay. Even the bathroom was fantastic, so no issues, no problems at all. And then this is a 2-bedroom, crammed into a pretty small space. The one next door we'll show you here too is actually a 1-bedroom in the same space, so you can tell me which one you like better. This 2-bedroom actually rents for just a little bit more because it's a 2-bedroom, but is harder to rent than the other one just because there's not that many people looking for a 2-bedroom with very little living space, although there are some, whereas there are more people looking for kind of a 1-bedroom with more living space. So here's the one right next door, exact same square footage.
Oh, was it?
Slightly different floor plan. It actually has a washer and dryer right behind that door. I don't know if I showed it or not. But both units have laundry. Obviously a much different kitchen in this one as well.
I miss you.
We kind of redid this one. We'll show you what it looked like when I first bought it at the end here, because I did not just buy this property and raise rents.
Right.
We had to do some work, fix things up. And when I first bought it, definitely took a little bit more work than it has the last few years.
But everything
So
needs to be electric.
this one we thought we had rented. We had someone who had agreed to a price, signed the lease and everything, but never brought their money in. So it's like, well, no, you can't move in until we get your money. And this is what the property looked like when I first bought it, by the way. But landlord advice, never let someone move in until they've paid, first month's rent, deposit, whatever your agreement is. Some people want first month, last month's rent and deposit. We can't legally do that in Colorado. But if you start taking partial payments right off the bat, it usually does not end good. And we do not consider a property rented until we get payment. So we are still, if someone else wants to come along and rent this property, great. The tenants who said they wanted it said they wanted to move in on like the 8th, and they wouldn't be able to bring money until then. But they said, hey, if someone else wants it before then, I guess we lose it. So a little bit of a strange situation, but we'll see how that goes. There's a cellar. It's like a 4 foot tall, 5 foot tall kind of dirt basement under there. pretty amazing. But this property did need some work, like I said. And when I first bought it, rents were right around, was it 1975 or 2000 for the whole thing, which honestly was still pretty good numbers for paying 190,000 for it, even back then. And there were just so many more deals back then. You know, as a more normal real estate market, it was nice. So it wasn't just people looking to buy, you know, their first house who wish for, you know, old real estate prices. As an investor, we would sure love to see lower real estate prices too. Unfortunately, with all the regulations and building restrictions and development restrictions, I don't think we're going to see those low prices maybe ever again, unfortunately. So we've just got to deal with what we've got. We don't have time machines, and if we did have time machines and everybody was buying cheap properties, it really might just mess up the time-space continuum. So I think we're just going to have to go with what we've got. So this is that left unit when I first bought the property and what it looked like inside. Little different. So what we did on this property, we remodeled this unit first, got it rented. We don't kick out tenants and then fix stuff up. In hardly any cases, maybe if a unit is dangerous or the tenant isn't paying rent or we've got other issues. But on this one, we fixed up this unit, got it rented, and then we had the lower level unit go vacant. That person moved out. And so we remodeled it, fixed it up, and actually the tenant upstairs in the other unit wanted to live downstairs. So he moved downstairs and we fixed up their unit, rented it out, and we're able to remodel most of the units. The hair salon has been there the whole time. We haven't had to do much there. And by doing that, you know, we're able to raise rents. And I think we bring in $3,800 a month now from this property, which makes it worth over $500,000 in this area with those cap rates and the condition this property is in. So it's been a great property. Hasn't had too much craziness go on here. With units like this where you have one bedroom, a small 2-bedroom, you're going to have more turnover than a house or than maybe a larger apartment. That's just the name of the game. So when you have these smaller units in multifamily, you're going to have more turnover. I think the last couple of people, this gentleman left here because he was going to move back in with his father, and then the person next door found a bigger place to rent. That's why they moved. They wanted more space. So besides the turnover, which we knew going into this we'd have, it's been a pretty good property. Can't complain about really anything. Wish I had many, many, many more of them. All right, so we'll have more updates on this property. If anything changes, we will, of course, have updates on the laundromats, the liquor store, our other rental properties. We do have a few tenant issues going on there. We've got another tenant moving out who we know is not going to leave it in good shape. So we'll see how that goes. Already have some issues there at the complex. And we'll have updates on our commercial properties too. All right, thanks for watching. Love to hear what you think, and we will be back soon.